Hello and welcome to Apex Racing TV's coverage of round number 1 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Championship here at Circuit of the Americas. My name is Scott Newton, and alongside me tonight is Wei Han Chan. Welcome, Wei Han. First round of the season here of Sim Racers Asia. Seems as though it's going to be a pretty exciting championship ahead. Sorry about that, Wei Han. We are live. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, welcome to round number 1 of Sim Racers Asia GTE Championship here at COTA. What are your thoughts heading into this season ahead?
Hey Scott, hey everyone, good evening, morning, afternoon from wherever you may be. Of course, round 1 of this brand new season, Sim Racers Asia GTE season. Of course, we are starting today from Circuit of the Americas. Scott, I'm not sure if this is going to be a hot favorite circuit among the drivers here, but I do believe it's going to be one to watch. Quite a lot of action to happen tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the modern F1 circuits, Circuit of the Americas, with lots of runoff. So it does allow a bit of wiggle room for mistakes here, but yeah, as you say, it might not be a hot favourite, but yeah, certainly looking forward to the action tonight. Here, currently we've got a ambient temperature of 18 degrees Celsius, humidity of 32%, with partly cloudy conditions and 11 km/h wind. So it's very, very cold. It should be allowing for a bit of extra top speed, especially on this back straight heading up into turn 12, but with these morning conditions as well, it should be providing plenty of grip out there.
Absolutely, plenty of grip, and that is probably necessary for a track like this. Of course, you've got a sharp hairpin corners at various points of the track. You've also got certain decreasing radius corners where grip will be necessary for you to decrease speed as you progress through the corner. Of course, this track is one of those where I believe you combine a bit of different tracks around, and you've got a combination of a few tricky corners. Number of tricky corners are threaded together.
Yeah, definitely, especially heading through sector 1. You got turns 4 all the way up until turn 10, and then you've got that middle section where you've got a entry to 12, and then all the way up into the final corner. So definitely some tricky spots for the drivers out there, but it also can aid overtaking as well. Just in the final few stages of qualifying at the moment, we've got about 3 minutes left on provisional pole. At the moment, we've got Bo Albert for Altus Esports currently sitting on provisional pole by 6/6 of a second, so he's pretty much flying it there. I got Mike Burdett for Delta Sim Sports in 2nd place provisionally, and Corey Ott rounding out the top 3 for Team Bushwink Racing.
So of course we have a good top 10, a good proportion of drivers all within a second or second and a half of one another, and that's probably going to unfold into a tight competition that we might see tonight. Of course, Bo Albert, Pro World Championship driver, his lap time is blistering fast with 1 minute 58.681.
So worth pointing out, this season of Sim Racers Asia has moved to the GTE spec cars. Previous seasons they've had been driving in the GT3 series, so it's good to see that they've switched up to the GTE. But also in previous seasons they've run the Aston and the Corvette as well. So it's always good to see a bit of a variety within the series.
Certainly, with the addition of the new 911 RSR GTE Porsche, I think that's going to add even more variety to what has probably traditionally been a 2-horse race between rivals Ford and Ferrari for a good part of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Ahead tonight, we've got a 1-hour race here at Circuit of the Americas. A bit of a format change with the GTE Series ahead. Got a 60-minute race going forward for this season. Got, as you said, cars involved, the Ferrari 488 GTE, Ford GT, 2017 Le Mans spec and a Porsche 911 RSR. The drivers must maintain this car throughout the season, but they are limited to one change, or once they change they are restricted to that car. Setups are open. They've got a fuel limit of 75% though, so they will be required to make a pit stop. And they've got an incident limit of 20 incidents, so once they go over that incident cap, then they will be disqualified from the race.
Absolutely, and we've only got perhaps a half a minute to the end of the qualifying before we progress to the start of the race. And at the moment, we still have Bo Albert leading the qualifying tables with 1 minute 58.681, no change from that. Although we do have Anthony Winkleman, who's moved up to second with a 1 minute 59.212. Then we've also got Mike Burdett as well as Corey Ott rounding up your top three, rounding out third and fourth. Because now we are riding on Leonardo Oliveira, this green car of Macau Sim Racing Team, and his lap time is set to 1:59.606.
We've got Corey Ott at the moment coming around the final sector at the moment. He's just about to complete a lap through the second to last corner now. Lap time for him is a 59.34 last time around, so we'll see whether he's able to improve. But he's already gone past that time, so it looks as though he won't improve, and that will be his final lap for the session. Back to Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira crossing the line now. He does not improve, 59.9 his lap time. I'll be after Pritchard for Wellab Motorsport is coming around. So that was at turn number 15 now, but we've got Lachlan Crowe at the moment coming around the second to last corner now. It looks as though he's backed off, so back to Abirafti Putra in the 911 RSR. And yeah, he dives into the pit lane, so yeah, he's going to abort that lap. And you've got two other drivers on track at the moment. Alex Pohl for Delta Sim Sports in that nice looking pink livery, and yeah, he's coming around the final quarter now. His lap time at the moment is 2:01.2. He had a personal best sector 2, but will he improve? No, he doesn't. He's only 600 slower. And Mark Lang, series administrator, puts in a lap time of a 2:07, so 28th position for him. And the only other driver to not set a time at the moment is Paul Nelson. So that concludes qualifying.
Indeed, a great grid for us here, and let's go through the grid tonight, Scott.
Yeah, we just got to wait for the session to change over. Unfortunately, just the way that I'm able to bring up the grid. But yeah, we've still got 38 seconds to go once that changes over. But yeah, with these cooler conditions, do you see that they will be changing tyres, or do you think that they'll opt to just take fuel through this the race today?
I think they'll opt to just take fuel, mostly because I guess the track temperatures are not hot enough, or rather the track temperatures are cool enough for drivers to still maintain grip as they go throughout the race, and where they won't probably wear their tires down as much. Having that said, of course, this circuit is actually quite well known for eating up your tires if you go on too hard. So an hour-long race that may be pushing it a bit if you are choosing to or not to change tires, but of course most should be going in for fuel.
Right then, now that the session's changed over, we were able to bring you the grid. So Bo Albert for Alta Sim Sports takes the pole position of 1 minute 58.681. Alongside him, Anthony Winkleman for Trick Sim Sports, half a second behind Bo. Mark Burdett for Delta Sim Sports is in third position. Corey Ott for Team Bushwick Racing rounds out the second row. Matt Morris for Velocity Sim Racing is in fifth position. Aaron Nurazam in sixth position. Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira for Macau Sim Racing is seventh. Michael Hammond is eighth position. Yazrin Yali in ninth, and Chris Whitaker rounding out the top 10. Abirafti Putra in 11th. Craig Edwards for Fusion Sim Racing is in 12th.
And Simon Mezzomo, he takes a P13 with Sean Thompson in P14. So there's Lachlan Crowe and Andre Ambada, they take P15 and 16th. Alex Pohl takes 17th. Lina Coxey takes 18th. Kevin Huang 19th. Simon Sanchez 20th. Matt Chinosky 21st. Chad Hearn 22nd. Azril Nasli takes 23rd. Rob Harris takes 4th. Brian Renfers takes 25th. Stephen Grima takes 26th. Hugo Silva Jr. takes 27th. Mark Lang takes 28th with his lap time. And Paul Nelson, unfortunately, not a lap time set by him. He takes 29th.
So just waiting for the pace car to depart the back straight. Luckily, it's not a full pace lap here.
Absolutely. Wouldn't want to imagine the length under the pace car. Because one lap, taking 2 minutes to complete one lap here, that's going to take a while. But because safety car is now leading the grid down this stretch, and we've got Bo Albert flashing his headlights there.
Yeah, that's a Bo Albert standard, I think. The flashing headlights. That's yeah, they're coming through sector 3 at the moment. But yeah, an hour-long race. Definitely going to be looking for lots of action. Hopefully, we'll be able to bring that to you. Also, live timing is available in the YouTube description as well for those that are watching live. So head on over to that and look for your favourite drivers to see how they're doing. But, yeah, just waiting for the pace car to come through, and I'll let you call the start.
Fantastic. So as they approach this unique multi-apex long right-hander, actually, I think this will be one of those corners where cars will, later on in the race, cars will actually be able to carry quite high speed through this section. As they now approach the final corner, safety car goes in. The field is now under the command of Bo Albert as he takes the final corner. Green flag waves. Bo Albert, great start by him. He leads the grid ahead of Anthony Winkleman, and he now leads the grid into turn 1. Of course, Anthony Winkleman now. Matt Morris up to P4 ahead of Corey Ott, and he's now moved up to P3. And man, this is a bit confusing there. A group of Porsches here, cars there. There's the carnage behind there.
Yeah, we did see
not exactly the cleanest start so far, and yeah, you can see that Brian Ramford's a bit of an incident.
Yeah, I did see that Alex Pohl went around to turn 1. A bit of an unfortunate mistake for him. He's back in the pit lane, possibly. As oh no, he just had a bit of an incident moment there as he's rejoined back in 28th position. But yeah, it looks as though there's been a fairly clean start as well. Everyone within about a second of each other, but yeah, as you say, fairly clean start for the field. Bo Albert,
absolutely.
Yeah, Bo Albert's pulled out a 9/10 of a second gap at the moment.
My goodness, he's pulling quite a long gap ahead of his rival there, Anthony Winkleman. I think these two drivers, they're going to have a good night tonight fighting out. In P3 at the moment sits Mike Burdett, and oh, wow, I think some drivers have just run out wide. Matt Morris up to P3, Mike Burdett down to P4, and Corey Ott sits in P5. Of course, now looking at Mike Burdett, he has a Corey Ott, I think, inside him, and he's made a pass, and a bit messy there.
Yeah, just trying to sort out the best camera angle, but yeah, it looks as though that Mike Burdett went wide at turn 10. Oh, sorry, turn 12. Went a little bit deep, and that's cost him 2 positions from his starting slot. But yeah, there's big train of cars from Mike all the way back to 14th at the moment. So there's
contact there between two drivers behind.
Let's see who that is. It looks as though that we go back on replay. We're on board Michael Hammond. This is coming around the second to last corner. And yeah, it looks as though one of the McCaustin racing cars they had, as he was looking up the inside, and yeah, just as though that yeah, the McCaustin racing car slowed up just a little bit too much, and that caught Michael out, and yeah, unfortunately that contact ensued, and then that brought this big gaggle of cars pretty much right together. So as they get heading too wide into turn number 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, and that puts Leonardo Oliveira actually 9 positions down. He currently sits in P16.
As we go back to live, there's a still huge battle. Was it Kevin Wang in the 4GT? Very. Oh, it was 3 wide.
Oh, big contact.
Into 11. Everyone's trying to sort themselves out, and yeah, everyone getting through. There's a bit of contact behind, but having said that, they made it through. As they're heading up into turn 12 now, let's see if we can get an onboard. As one of the Ferrari 98 deep on the inside, who is that? The 55 of Brian Renfers making the position on Simon Jorge Sanchez. So good job for him. Or is that a bit of
Alright, that was bound to happen, and I think round goes that Ferrari of Brian Renfers.
Yeah, it was Brian Renfers, he falls back to 26th position. At the moment, yeah, there's so much action that we kind of struggling to keep up, but yeah, everyone definitely trying to sort themselves out. This battle pack for 21st all the way to 26th is shaping up to be quite the battle. Just looking further up the front at the moment, Bo Albert is strung the lead out to 2.3 seconds over Anthony Winkelmann, so he's definitely putting the hammer down at the moment. Matty Morris sitting in 3rd position up 2 places, so he's had a pretty good start. Craig Edwards, biggest mover in the top 10 at the moment, sits 7th in his Porsche. But Simon Mazomos has a pretty good start as well. He's up 3 positions as well for FT1 Motorsport.
Exactly right. Craig Edwards, I think he's gained 5 positions from lap 1 till this current lap at lap 3. He's now sitting in P7th, and he's now close up to Armand Nurizam. Let's have a ride on him. Because riding with Craig Edwards as he tries to inch himself towards Armand Nurizam onto this tight hairpin all the way down to 1st gear here. Bit high on the revs there as he now approaches this right-hander, slowing down a bit there and taking this right-hander, not exactly closing up the gap to Armand Nurizam, but as we proceed through this series of very technical corners, of course technical on the car as well as the driver, we see how Craig Edwards will be able to carry his speed through this multiple apex right-hander. Because the gap between Craig and Armand Nurizam sits at around 0.69 of a second, so that's quite a close gap there that Craig has to work himself in order to approach Azam from behind.
Yeah, last lap time for Edwards was 2:00.63, plays a 2:01.2 for Nurizam, so he's caught up with at least 0.6 of a second, so a good lap time there for Edwards. And he's definitely trying to put the pressure on him. I reckon he'll be putting the pressure on it into turn 12 as they head through the back straight. But yes, definitely looking as though he's got the confidence to put the hammer down and close up.
Oh, absolutely. He does have the confidence to close that thing up, although he's still alright. His engine is getting closer and closer to Azam here as they now approach this other end of the Circuit of the Americas, as they now head to the second hairpin of this track. before they prepare themselves for this long backstretch. Key to get a good exit here. I think they've got quite a good exit here. And now it's going to be a drag race, a draft, a slipstream down this long straight as Craig seeks to get as much of a draft as he can off Azam.
Yeah,
Azam goes inside, a bit defensive there. And Craig now goes to the outside, but it's a bit too late.
Yeah, good defensive driving there from Nurazam. Knew that Craig was on the offensive, but yeah, luckily he covered it off, and yeah, still sits in 6th position. Battle for 3rd position at the moment is shaping up pretty nicely, with Corey managing to get ahead of Matt Morris. Unfortunately, we missed that overtake. Let's see if we can go back on that. As we go and replay, pretty much a similar move that what Craig was trying to pull on Nurazam, but looks as though that Corey was able to get on the inside, yeah, just through the draft and deep under brakes. Or he managed just to pull it up. Good move there for Corey to pull it up, and moves up to the last podium position.
Absolutely making use of Matt Morris's disadvantageous positioning there at that corner. Although we may want to go back to live, so we are back live now, and I think Corey is now getting a bit more pressure from, well, he's actually pulled quite a long gap ahead of Matt Morris, and it is Matt Morris and Mike Burdett now gunning for 4th.
Yeah, Matt Morris was trying to go defensive on the inside, but it looks as though that he'll have a little bit of a draft from Ott in front of him, but with Burdett, sorry, really close. He'll try and look at the inside, but doesn't manage to pull the gap. But yeah, still behind Nurazam, under all sorts of pressure from Edwards, but that gap still holds at about 0.2 of a second. As Nurazam goes over the curb, but he'll.
Alright, that was very close.
Yeah, that's very close there, but yeah, Edwards managing to stay off the back of Nurazam. Riding these curbs, especially through that middle sector, it can be quite detrimental to your pace, but yeah, luckily Nurazam was able to defend there from Edwards.
Absolutely. Let's have a ride on the front bumper cam of Edwards, perhaps, as he tries to, as he navigates through the curbs of this circuit, and as he tries to make his way through Azam again. Right onto the main straight they come. And to turn 1, of course, your entry here has to be right, because the apex is a bit blind. The exit of this corner is also a bit blind. Although now it's full throttle all the way down this light right-hander as they approach DSs. Because Craig Edwards putting all he can in order to try to close the gap with Azam, and yep, he's much closer. Now going all the way up the rear end, up the gearbox of Ahmad Nurazam there, as they now head towards, again, for another time to this end, this other hairpin, as they prepare for this corner.
10-11, you want to get a good exit out of here as Edwards manages to do so. We'll see whether Nurazam is trimmed out to see what his top speed's like, but Edwards getting up to 260 kilometers an hour before he hits on the brakes, but yeah, he's not close enough. Tries to go look for the inside, and no, he manages to get the pass, so good job for him to move up into 6th position. And yeah, I think that Nurazam probably didn't see that coming, as he was quite a way back, but Edwards managing to pull it up, and fair play to both of those drivers there.
Absolutely great driving there by Craig Edwards to sneak under the nose of Ahmad Nurazam there at the hairpin, and that moves him up to P. 6. Oh, it goes a bit wide there. That may be to Azam's advantage as he may try to regain his position again.
Just noticed that Bo Albert has got only a 4/10 of a second gap between himself and Anthony Winkelmann. So that battle's closed up right up. I'm not sure whether Bo had a bit of a mistake one of his previous laps, but yeah, Winkelmann managing to find a lot of pace, and he's closed right up to the back of the gearbox of Bo Albert.
Oh yes, this is going to be exciting. I think Bo may have made a slight mistake there, or it could be that Anthony Winkelmann made a big gain somewhere along the race just now. But of course, we have to remember these two are among the fastest drivers in Australia, and they are going to give us a great show tonight. Let's stay with them for a while.
So that
of course, with Anthony Winkelmann going down this back stretch, he's getting the slipstream and he tries to perhaps look to the inside of. No, doesn't quite work.
Yeah, he realised it was a little bit too far back and couldn't pull off the move, so he just fell back in line. He'll definitely have another opportunity. We've still got it was 46.5 minutes left of this race, so yeah, definitely plenty of opportunity left for Winkelmann to make the overtake. But yeah, he's definitely putting all sorts of pressure on Bo at the moment. See what their lap times are across the line this time around. But it looks as though they'll be fairly similar. The gap hasn't really opened that much over the course of this lap, but looking at sector times, it looks as though that Winkelmann was fairly quicker. Yeah, so about 10th.5 gain there for Winkelmann over the course of the last lap. So
locks up a bit there. That's going to be to the advantage of Anthony Winkelmann as they now perhaps go down the drag race with Bo Albert taking the inside line, and he probably gains. Oh no, he doesn't. No, it's going to be a too wide through this SSY. This is going to be scary. Oh, almost over the curb goes Anthony Winkelmann, although Bo Albert nearly loses his lead to Anthony Winkelmann. Because Bo Albert, he saved himself, and Anthony Winkelmann still stays in second.
Yeah, those curbs over that turn 3, 4, 5, 6 complex are deadly, and you definitely don't want to go over those. As Winkelmann looks to the inside and he dives it up the inside, and yeah, manages to pull off the move. But Albert's going to get the cut back and look to retake the lead in as they head down to the back straight and up into turn 12.
Drag race here, side by side as they head towards this next corner. Bo Albert retakes his race lead with Anthony Winkelmann now back to second. Or does he? All the way up close, Anthony Winkelmann goes up to Bo Albert. Of course, as they navigate this technical section, of course, it's going to be very demanding on the tires, so they'll have to be a bit careful here in order to conserve their tires, but by the looks of it, they seem to be pushing very hard.
It's worth pointing out we've seen 3 drivers through the pit lane at the moment. Might be a little bit early for the drivers, but we'll have to see come the end of the race whether they have to pit again. Last time for the front 2 was a 2-minute 1.7, and the 3 drivers behind in Ott, Morris and Burdett were considerably quicker. They were 1.2, 1.3 seconds quicker, so if they keep battling like this, that 2-way battle is going to turn into a 4 or 5-way battle.
Sounds great. Let's perhaps have a look at some battles that are perhaps unfolding towards the rear end of the grid, middle of the grid.
You can do battle for 13th at the moment. Leonard Cutsey and Andrew Ambadar, Ferrari versus Ford. Delta Sim Sport of Leonard Cutsey currently up 5 positions at the moment, and Andrew Aberdeen up 2, so they've had a fairly solid race. And gap at the moment is about 0.8 of a second. I'll see if we can go on board Andrew.
Absolutely. As the viewer pointed out, spicy looking car here, red color. As Andrew now, he sits behind Little Coxie. Yep, like I said, 0.7 of a second behind, although he now has to try to get a good entry and a good exit through this corner. Bit slow exit there. And it seems as though he's starting to pull back from Little Coxie in front.
Yeah, let's just say that it's not actually closing up that much. It's only really caught up about a tenth or so on the straight, but then he had a bad run through 12, and that's opened that gap up quite considerably. So we'll see how he goes through this next couple of corners. We'll see whether he can close back up, but looks as though that Cuxie's pretty much got the measure for Ambadar at the moment.
Exactly, as they now take this multi-apex right-hander again, and they reach the second to last corner. Alright, cutting the curb a bit quite aggressively there by Andre Ambadar as he now approaches the last corner, harder on the brakes, and that didn't seem to perhaps move him up enough.
Yeah, it was 5 tenths slower than Leonard Cuxie last time around, so
He hops over the curb. Was a beautifully presented Y-Lab Ford GT here, nicely painted in red, spicy red. And I guess he's going to have a spicy drive tonight, although his gap with... Oh, I think his gap with Linda Coxie has increased to 1.37. And maintaining a consistent advantage over Chad Hearn behind him at around 0.8 to 0.9 of a second.
Just looking at that a little bit further back, you can see Kevin Wang currently in 16th position at the moment. It's very unusual to see Kevin in a car other than the McLaren GT3, so it's good to see him in the Ford GT. But yeah, currently at the moment only 3 tenths behind Chad Hearn at the moment. Kevin managed to close in 7 tenths, but he ran the outside. He goes, and it's pretty much candy from a baby there, so great move there for Kevin. Moves himself up into the top 15 and looking to move up onto the clutches of Andrew Amado in 14th.
Absolutely great move there by Kevin, nailing the move ahead of Chad Hearn from the outside, and that puts Kevin to 15th. And I have a feeling he may be actually trying to close the gap with Andrew right in front of him.
I just noticed that Winkelmann's managed to overtake Albert as well, so we have to go and find that on replay. Happened within the last lap or so, down into turn number 12, so Winkelmann gets a great exit out of 11. Pretty much gets the run and dives up the inside. Yeah, Albert realised that yeah, there was pretty much no fighting there, and yeah, Winkelmann moves past, and at the moment still the gap holds at about 0.7 of a second, so very, very close up the front. And they're just starting to come through the traffic now. It's that Mark Lang decides to move out the way, so great sportsmanship from him, and that allows the leaders to move up to second last corner, and they're coming up to start lap number 12.
Of course, classy driving by both Anthony Winkelmann and Boyd. Whoa, got a bit too wide on the grass. What do you call that? The
AstroTurf.
what's that called? Yes, sorry. Thanks, AstroTurf there. As they now approach, by the way, thanks for changing to TV one. I think the action is much better this way. Anthony Winkelmann, of course, are now clean up to first, and Bo Albert trailing not too far behind, although this is going to perhaps spiral down into a good face-off as they approach this SS.
Yeah, last lap times were pretty similar for Albert and Winkelmann last time. The difference was only 4 to 500ths of a second, so just as though that will continue to be a very, very hot battle. But just looking further back, at the moment we've got the battle between Nurazam, Hamid and Yali. The gap between those three drivers is 1.2 overall, but looking at Yali and Hammond, that's really the closest battle on track at the moment. Within the top 10. See if we can go on board with Yali to see whether he can get the overtake done.
Because listening to the beautiful noise of the 911 RSI engine there, revving all the way up to 9,000 RPM as they hit top speed here, and hard on brakes he goes, Jaswin goes. Not enough to make it past Michael Hammond. But they now proceed to the next series of extremely technical corners once again. Yes, you can listen to those tires slightly squealing there. I think he's he's trying to push the tires as much as he can through the right-hander just now. As he now approaches the last corner. Hard on the brakes, he goes over that small bump of the curb there as he returns to the grid straight. Of course, now he comes to this uphill turn one. Of course, Scott, I guess this has to be one of the more unique aspects of this circuit. Of course, uphill turn one. From a track width that was quite wide from the grid all the way to a narrow apex through turn one, I think that was quite challenging for the drivers to make it past.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly quite interesting, the entry to turn one, especially if you're on a single screen as well, because the field of view can be quite narrow, and if you've set the FOV correctly, yeah, it restricts your vision quite massively if you've set it so that it's pretty much level with your wheel. But all of the drivers managing to get through there cleanly so far. To see that one of the Ferraris is off track, just letting the leaders through.
You know, Scott, I was kind of expecting more close quarter racing here. I'm not too sure if that has been taking place tonight. I find that this track doesn't seem to provide that kind of close competition as you'd expect from most other tracks, but it is still quite a challenge for all the drivers to drive tonight. Of course, we've seen one car just now. It's locked up a bit, and now we're on looking at Corey Ott.
Yeah, I just noticed.
But Corey now sits in third. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that this battle has been progressing quite significantly over the last lap or so. The gap at the moment is only 4 or 5 tenths of a second, and it looks as though that Corey's just edging that gap out slightly. 2 minute .01 last time round. Plays 2 minute .2 for Matt Morris. Last time round, as you see that Michael Hammond's in as well. So some of the drivers selected to take their stops now. It's a little bit early, I would think, but yeah, we'll see. They've got quite a few window as well, so we'll see drivers coming in fairly shortly for their stops as well.
Exactly. Lynette Coxey has also taken the pits. Of course, now we've just passed the 30-minute halfway point of this race, and drivers are starting to take the pit lane at this time.
As I see the battle up the front, or as I see that Albert's just managed to do the same as what Wickerman did to him. So
oh, that was so close.
so yeah, just managed to catch that. Albert back into the lead.
Locking up a bit there. I think we should ride on the front bumper camera of Anthony Winkleman and have a look at how close exactly. Yes, how close exactly he gets to Bo Albert. Of course, these two are extremely fast drivers, and I believe they have an enormous amount of respect for each other, and I'm sure they've been carrying through the... as I just said that, he's gotten a bit of understeer through the last corner, and that has gone to Bo's advantage. As we look at how hard over the curbs Bo went. Of course, you guys may have seen just now the way Bo entered turn 1. He took an early entry, and that might be one of the strategies that drivers will take, making use of the wide entry to turn 1 with the narrow apex and exit. But trying to get the best line they can through this technical SS section as they now head to this slight left kink here. Right, Anthony Winkleman gaining all the way up to Bo Albert, but earlier in on the brakes. And a good exit here. That's going to be a slipstream behind Bo Albert as he now swings to the left. It's going to be a drag race down this long stretch here. So it's going to be either of them, depending on the corner entry. If Anthony makes it up to first, all right. Good move there, Anthony Winkleman. He cleans it off, and he takes first.
The first 2 sector times for Winkleman were much faster, 2/10 quicker through the first sector, and then about 2.5 to 3/10 quicker through the second sector. So yeah, that difference there was just made up through the draft. So yeah, good move there from Winkleman. Moves up into the lead, just ticking over to 30 minutes elapsed. So I would expect that we would be doing a 31 to 32 lap race here today, as we just ticked over half an hour to go.
Yeah, that seems like quite a long race. I'm not sure if the other drivers are able to cope 60 minutes here at Circuit of the Americas. Certainly not me. I'm not exactly a fan of this track, but Scott, let's have a look at some more battles that may be taking place at the mid-pack. Of course, thanks. Having a look at Abhi Putra now, he sits in P12, one position down from his race start from P11. Although Kevin Huang has actually made huge gains from his race start, sitting in P11 right now. Abhi Putra coming under quite a lot of pressure from I believe his teammates, sitting in P13.
Yeah, it's good to see that Kevin's up into 11th place at the moment. He's up 8 spots from where he started.
But it does seem like Abhi Putra is... Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah, it does look like Abhi Putra is trying to make his gains up to Kevin. Oh, bit slidey there goes Kevin. And Abhi Putra, he's now headed to this part of the track all the way up there, locking up a slight bit there as he enters this tight hairpin, riding in his 911 right now, trying to get a good slipstream behind Kevin. Right, swinging to the inside here. Is he going to make a move? Yes, no. Not exactly close enough. Oh, hard over the curbs there. Slightly unsettled his car. As he now approaches this multi-apex right. Nope. Double apex right-hander. And again to this left-hander. Yes, alright. Kevin's made a bit of a mistake there, and Abi is now all the way up the gearbox of Kevin. Of course, back onto the main stretch. There you go. Which car is that? Andre Ambada making a bit of mistake there on the exit of the last corner. Although he's now our eyes are still on Abi Putra as he tries to close in on Kevin. Oh, round goes Kevin, and Abi Putra takes advantage of that. He moves up to P10, and Andre Ambada up to P11. Kevin Huang drops to P12.
Yeah, a bit of an unfortunate mistake there from Kevin. It's not something that you would normally see him do, but yeah, just got caught on the curb there at turn 1. But yeah, trying to put the power down, and yeah, just ran you wet, and yeah, that forfeited him those 2 positions back to 12th. Worth pointing out, first driver that has pitted. Michael Hammond sitting in P14 at the moment. He currently sits 1 minute 7 off the lead of Bo Albert. See that Winkelmann. What's happened to Winkelmann?
Oh, I believe he's disconnected actually.
Oh, has he? Is it a third?
Yeah, it seems like he's. I think he may have gotten into an incident. Perhaps somewhere along the race where we missed it.
Yeah, I was just gonna see if I can find it.
So they're still racing at lap 16. We're having a look at the replay now. Anthony Winkelmann at the time still holding. Oh!
Well, there you go.
Just gone off the screen like that.
So, there you go. It was just a disconnect, and yeah, it's unfortunate for Winkelmann. He was looking very, very strong for the win, but yeah, unfortunate that internet's plagued these had taken it as an issue, and yeah, it's forced him out of the race. Unfortunately, he goes a lap down, at least if he decides to connect to the server. But yeah, he'll be classified with 15 laps complete.
Yeah, but absolutely unfortunate for Anthony there, having fought so hard with his rival Bo Albert for the race lead and just losing whatever he's worked for, owing to a disconnect there. As we're currently riding with Michael Hammond as he's coming under pressure from Craig Edwards right behind him. Because Craig pushing it hard, trying to make it past Michael Hammond. Riding on them now as they take this sharp hairpin left-hander. Onto this long back stretch. Great exit there by Craig Edwards. And he's just got to get a good slipstream from Hammond there. Goes a bit to the left, may have missed out on the slipstream. Yes, Scott.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to spot his braking point, because it's quite difficult to see the braking point there, but yeah, you would have thought that Craig would have been all up the inside of Hammond by the entry to turn 12, but possibly he's running just a little bit of extra wing, as well, Hammond running just a little bit wide. Who's that in front of him? Is that Chad Hearn? in 13th at the moment. He hasn't pitted, but the two drivers behind have, so.
Nope, the Ford GT is not going to pit, and it looks like we're gonna have a three-way battle here. Craig Edwards and sorry, I've kind of lost driver names. Although the Ford GT is now slipping down, and as it now goes to Mike Hammond.
Yeah, so good move there from Craig and Michael to get past Chad. So battle for 13th still pretty fierce at the moment. Gap between them is about a quarter of a second at the moment.
Yep, Craig was all over the rear end of Michael Hammond there. No chill at all. Because now they approach this slight left kick before braking hard for this tight hairpin once again as they prepare themselves for the backstretch. A bit locking up a bit there by Michael Hammond and a bit squishy there, just squiggly there by Craig Edwards. And I think that's again set them apart here.
Bit of an update on Winkelmann, just saying that he's in the YouTube chat. First race DQ, so he was one of those drivers that has hit that incident cap of 20 incidents, and yeah, it's put him out of the race. So unfortunate for Anthony, as he was definitely turning up the week on his car, but yeah, unfortunate that he crossed that 20 incident limit, and the steward said, yeah, you got to come back in the pit lane, and yeah, that ended his race. So hopefully we'll see him back next week, but yeah, unfortunate for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was disconnect, but turned out to be the incident limit. But of course, fair play by Anthony Winkelmann and Bo Albert. They've provided quite an entertaining battle for the good first part of the race. Because Craig Edwards relentless on his pursuit for P number 13. And Michael Hammond has quite a hot driver at his tail. Scott, let's ride on the gearbox camera of Michael Hammond here, just for an idea of how close it is that Craig Edwards is coming. So of course we've now reaching this rather technical part of the track. All right, braking zone coming right up. Let's see how close Craig Edwards is going to get. Hard on the brakes. I was expecting much closer, but anyway, now onto this long backstretch. We can see that Craig Edwards is slowly pulling in towards Michael Hammond.
Yeah, just looking at the delta, it didn't really come down that much. It was hovering around 0.3 or 0.28, so yeah. Let's just say that Hammond's just got that car a little bit more trimmed out to aid in the top end.
Oh, a bit slidey there. Look at the tire marks there, and a bit off track, and Craig is now all the way up. And I'm so sorry, Scott. I think we went to the bumper camera at the wrong time.
So yeah, it's still. Seems that Edwards is all over the gearbox at the moment. That gap is closing right down. It was 0.19 as they headed into the braking zone, but just that little bit of a mistake there from Edwards just opened that gap up back up to 0.3. So head through to turn 1. Everything's managing to stay put at this time. Just seeing the spread of cars at the moment. We've got a Ford leading, we've got a Porsche in second, then third through fifth. We've got Ferrari, so Ferrari heavily represented in the top 5, and 6th and 7th in Porsches, then one more Ferrari in 8th, and then rounded out the top 10 with Amador and Huang. We've got 2 Fords, so quite a spread throughout the top 10. It's fairly well represented, which is always good to see.
Absolutely a perhaps fair diversity of these 3 cars, because of course viewers will have to remember that these drivers, they're only allowed the choice of 1 car that they can stick to throughout the season. And of course, the car that they drive today will also be the car that they'll be driving towards the end of the season.
Just noticed that Yali and Mazoma are taken to the pit lane, so it looks as though that the top 10 are starting to blink now. We've got 17 minutes, sorry, just over 17 minutes left of this race to go. Currently we're sitting on lap 22 of the race. Having a look at the pit stop times, it seems as though that 9.6 is roughly what everyone's going for. There are some slower pit stops. It looks as though that Whitaker had a possible pit lane penalty, whether it was a speeding on pit road entry, but yeah, he was in the pit box for 28 seconds, so an unfortunate error on his part, but yeah, he sits 12th at the moment, down 2 positions, but yeah, still battle with 13 and 14, still shaping up quite nicely. Still 0.3, so these 2 will be pretty much glued together, I reckon, for the rest of the race.
I can't get my eyes off the pace scheme of Michael Hammond's car. Looks so good.
Yeah, I just noticed that some of these drivers need to get their information into us to let us know which teams they're driving for, because I see that some of them have got private T next to the name. So yeah, please, if you can let us know via the Sim Racers Asia thread, and we'll get that updated as soon as we can. But it looks as though that Hammond's trying to go up the inside of Whitaker and manages to get the undercut on him, and yeah, it's a good move there for Hammond. See that Edwards is trying to go around the outside of...
Oh, I've been something there between Craig Edwards and...
it looks as though that Craig's...
My goodness.
That was Abi Putra, but it looks as though that Craig's hit the incident cap, and possibly Putra as well, because I see that they haven't moved any further in this race, so...
They've actually dropped, I think, from the qualifying grid.
Yeah, so I see that Putra's back in the pit lane. Possibly Craig as well, because he hasn't moved further. So it looks as though those 2 have hit the incident cap.
Yes, and that, I believe that leaves us with not that many drivers left in the race. Of course, still quite a fair amount.
Yeah, we've still got... How many have we got? Classified on the lead lap, I would say we've still got 20 cars? Or 18 at least. I see that the front 2 are in. Albert and Burdett. So they've elected to take to the pit lane. Corey, see what he does. He'll stay out, so he'll take the lead of the race. Excuse me. Nurazim into the pit lane as well. Morris, we'll see what he does. Looks as though he's going to commit to staying out, so he'll go around one more time. Albert will rejoin in 2nd position, so just a little bit of lap traffic, but he already had about a 6-7 second gap to Burdett ahead, so he'll come out once Corey pits back into the lead. Gap between Albert and Morris at the moment is about 10.8 seconds at the moment, so fairly comfortable lead. He's just got to navigate this lap traffic ahead. The 29 of Paul Nelson, who sits currently in 19th at the moment.
Yeah, but clean move there ahead of Paul Nelson. Of course, a gentlemanly driving by Paul Nelson, letting Bo through, letting the lapping traffic through us. Bo Albert now he heads to this backstretch. I believe Paul Nelson may take advantage of this slipstream, although he's got a bit of work to do to catch up with Corey, because by the looks of things, Corey has actually not. He's actually yet to pit this race.
Having a look at Corey at the moment, see whether he takes it to pit lane this lap. Let's get the track map on. Yeah, so Corey dives into the pit lane. We'll see that Albert's coming around the second to last corner now.
Yep, Corey's in the pits, and that seats the lead back to Bo Albert. Matt Morris will return to P2 and Mike Burdett. Probably, I hope so. I hope so, because Bo Albert made the move up to P1, and as Matt Morris comes through this start-finish line, I think he's going to also leapfrog ahead of Corey and reclaim P2. Yes, he's just done that. And Corey's out of the pits. Is he gonna come in ahead of? Wow, this is gonna be close. Is he gonna come in ahead of Mike Burdett? Yes. No, he goes up a bit out wide. Rejoins full throttle on this right-hander as they enter the S's here. Mike Burdett sits in P4. Just missed out to Corey's pit exit there.
Yeah, it was very, very close for Corey not to get jumped by Burdett, so great job for him. Just brought up the track map, and it was very, very close. I saw that Corey was moving just as Burdett was crossing the start-finish line, and yeah, it was so super close, and yeah, I was lucky. Got to be careful as well with that off-track that he claimed on the exit of turn 1 there. But yeah, he's managed to keep it on the circuit and still sits under that incident limit at the moment. We're just coming up to 50 minutes elapsed at the moment within the next 10 seconds. So 5/6 of this race complete. We're just heading into the final 10 minutes now.
Absolutely, and other than the incident limits, like you pointed out, I think another factor that drivers will have to look out for, especially at this time of the race, heading towards the end, assuming that the drivers did not pit for tires, I think they'll have to be a bit more careful. They'll have to be a bit more wary of their corner entry as well as exit, in that the tires may have been worn out at this stage of the race, so that may start to make things a bit difficult as they progress towards the end of the race.
Just looking a little bit further back, the only other battle on track at the moment, we've got Nurazam and who's that ahead? Is that Yali? Teammates at YLab Motorsport, Ferrari and a Porsche. This is the battle for 5th and 6th at the moment, so yeah, there are only 2 battles that are like within a second of each other, and yeah, this is the other battle as Nurazam looking at a move on the inside, but a little bit too far back at the moment.
Yeah, but it was quite far back for Azam, although his entry there was kind of ambitious in that he took the entry quite earlier on. He took quite a steep entry into that corner. And onto these S's they come. Because I believe at this time of the race, the drivers may be getting a bit fatigued. I guess due to the nature of this track, it is a bit, it does train your mind a bit, at least for myself, in that it sort of becomes a bit tiring to carry on this track for an hour straight. But that also shows how great of drivers these drivers are tonight.
Yeah, I remember that, was it 6 to 8 months ago now? Another series that was heavily featured in the Oceanic community, the Oceanic Endurance Championship, the first round in the LMP2 and GTE and GT3 was here, and running 6 hours in the HPD around this track was definitely demanding, and yeah, I can understand what these drivers are going through, and just how on the limit that you have to be able to put in solid lap times. So definitely everyone's shown that they've got the consistency out there to stay with it. I see that Bo Albert's just put in a purple sector at the moment, so he's still putting the hammer down at the moment. But
Putting the hammer down, I think he's on the limit even with even so late into the race. He's still pushing in harder and harder.
But yeah, getting back to the Oceanic Endurance Championship quickly, but I also noticed that a couple of the drivers here registered in this race also signed up for that, so they've got their next round at Imola tomorrow. There's 6 hours in the LMP1 LMP1 and the GTE, so wishing all of those drivers best of luck in that event. But yeah, we've still got 6.5 minutes left. At the moment, closest battle on the track is between Morris and Corey Ott. At the moment, gaps come down to a second. Ott was about 8 tenths quicker last time around, so he's definitely putting the pressure on. It's definitely quicker this lap in Sector 1 and Sector 2 by over 2 to 3 tenths, so yeah, he's definitely trying to put all sorts of pressure on. Still got 5 3/4 minutes to go.
Yep, not too long until the end of the race, and field still seems to be pretty much set in stone now, with of course Bo Albert in a league of his own. He has a 10-second gap ahead of Matt Morris, and it seems more like likely there will be a battle between Matt Morris and Corey Ott for P2. Looks like a three-way battle that's going to unfold here. Oh no, sorry, I think I made a mistake. That might have been a lap traffic.
But yeah, last lap time for Morris was a 2:49 compared to Ott with a 1:59.85, so it's a good 6 tenths of a second gain there for Ott last time around, so he'll be all over the gearbox this time around. We'll go on board with him.
Oh, all the way out wide goes that car there, and oh, that seemed to be quite scary there.
Let's see if we can get that back on replay. So yeah, go back to the replay. We'll see. Was it Matt? Was it Matt that went just a little bit too deep? Oh, I just locked up in the.
Oh yeah, rear end locked around. He went, and he's lost his little lead over Corey. Of course, Corey sits in second at the moment. That also drops Matt down to third.
But what that does is bring Mike Burdett into the picture for Delta Sim Sports. Gap between those two drivers is about 0.8 of a second, so this is the closest battle on track. I see that everyone's pretty much gapped each other, so
Absolutely, and I do think the white flag should be out quite soon because it's already past the hour mark. So I guess the race should be ending and should be concluding in a short while.
we've got about 2 minutes and 50 seconds left of race time.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just in the if you look at the timing app, it has the elapsed time remaining. So we've got 2 minutes and 36 seconds left of racing. As we've got Burdett moving up on Morris, and he moves up into third position. So possible mistake there for Morris, or whether he just got a bad run through turn 8 and 9 there, and that allowed Burdett through. But yeah, Morris will be all over the gearbox, I would think, this time.
Well, quite an unfortunate run for Morris here. He's lost 2 positions in 2 laps, missing out on the podium. Listen, I think Matt is trying to regain his third position here, trying to push the car as hard as he can with whatever that's left of the tires at this time of the race. Now, of course, they take this right-hander a bit wide goes Matt Morris, although he's now going to approach second to last corner, quite high speed over the curb he goes as they approach this final corner.
Now, Bo's.
Yeah, a bit wide goes. Sorry, Scott.
I was just going to mention that Bo has crossed for the 30th lap. That was within a minute and 30 seconds left, so this could possibly be the final lap of the race. But we'll have to wait and see who's coming through turn 8 and 9 now. So I would think that this could possibly be the last lap of the race, but we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, I believe it's been quite an interesting race so far. Of course, we've seen quite a fair bit of battles up front, fair bit of battles in the middle and to the rear end as well, but also the numerous drivers who have fallen victim to this incident limit. I just don't think this track is the friendliest track for you to drive. It does take a toll on you.
So having a look back up front, see that Bo Abbott's just managing through the traffic. Through 15, 16, 17 and 18 to triple apex right-hander. He's been pretty dominant throughout this race, and although that battle with Anthony Winkman didn't materialise after Winkman got DQ'd, but yeah, this will be the checkered flag as Bo Abbott for Altus Esports takes the checkered flag for run number 1 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Series here at Circuit of the Americas, and congratulations to him. So that Corey Yacht managing to hold on to second place for Team Bush Racing, so great job for him, and Mike Burdett rounding out the podium. Did Matt Morris
there.
Did he did he get disqualified? Because it looks as though that Yasmin Yales moved up into 4th position, so
I think he might have just gotten disqualified right before he crossed the line.
Wow, so Matt Morris was right on the limit for incidents, and yeah, that's he's going to be kicking himself for that. But Mazomo crosses the line in 6th position, so great effort for him, up 7 positions from where he started, so good job for him. I see, looking a little bit further back, Kevin in 10th place at the moment. He'll cross the line, he's got about an 11-second gap. But Andrew Abadar, this is the closest battle still going. Battle between him and Rob Harris is about 6 tenths of a second. Into 12 they go.
This is going to be a fight to the finish. Scott, sorry.
So looks as though that Ambadar is not that. He's close, but he's not close enough to have a go, which is what you need to be in order to make the overtake. But yeah, Harris doing a great job. He's up 11 positions. See whether he can hold on for these final 2 corners.
Yeah, but I'm not going to bet on Andrew for making the last-minute move because I don't think he's close enough to Rob Harris yet. So, of course, Rob Harris leading Andrew Ambada through this last corner. Last ditch attempt. Yes, no, contact! Oh my goodness, I think that was a... Oh man, that was a... absolute commentator's curse there. Andrew Ambada finishes in P12 and he has disqualified. I believe the other driver, he's disqualified due to the incident limit, so I should have kept my mouth shut, Scott.
It was a bit of an unfortunate contact there between Ambadar and Harris, and I think it'll be one for the stewards to look at. I think I'll leave that up to them, to be fair, as there'll be certain talking points throughout the end with all of the drivers, but having said
absolutely sorry,
I was going to say, having said that though, the action here at Circuit of the Americas for Sim Racers Asia has been top class as well. What are your thoughts having seen the race concluded today?
Well, Scott, I can only say that I'm just glad that I hadn't been one of them on track today, because if I were, I think I would have been either disqualified or just nasty. I mean, I find this race to have been a bit nasty for some drivers who have fallen prey to the incident limit. You know, this track, although there's huge runoff areas for you, there are also off-track areas which really do not play into the favor of for all of us. So I guess, I mean, we've seen battles up in the top 5, I guess. Of course, Matt Morris, unfortunate driver that was gunning for second, gunning for third, gunning for fourth, and he has got to finish in 13th. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much an interesting race tonight, Scott. Shall we move on to cover the grid?
Yeah, we'll cover the final race results. Yeah, from round number 1 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Series here at Circuit of the Americas. So Bo Albert takes the win, 12 seconds ahead of Corey Ott. Mike Burdett rounds out the podium for Delta Sim Sports, 16 seconds behind the winner. Yazrin Yali takes 4th position, and Ahmed Nurazam rounds out the top 5. So double top 5 for Wildab Motorsports, so they'll be pretty happy with that in the team championship. Mazomo in 6th position, Hammond 7th, Whitaker 8th, Kevin Wang 9th, and rounding out the top 10 was Lachlan Crow. Leonard Cuxey finished in 11th place. Andrew Ambadar finished in 12th. Matt Morris finished 13th. Rob Harris, after that unfortunate contact at the end there, finished in 14th. Chad Hearn rounds out the top 15. Matt Shanowski sits in 16th. Simon Jorge Sanchez in 17th. Azrael Nasli in 18th. Paul Nelson 19th, and rounding out the top 20 was Brian Renfers. Leonardo Lopez de Oliveira finished in 21st. 22nd was Abhirafti Putra. Craig Edwards finished 9 laps down in 23rd. Mark Lang 24th. Stephen Grimmer in 25th. Anthony Winkelman was putting all sorts of pressure on Bo Albert, but unfortunately hit the incident cap. Finishes in 26th. Sean Thompson in 27th, Hugo Silva Jr. in 28th, and Alex Pohl rounds out the field, finishing 29th.
Wow, what a race!
Just going to quickly get the Discord link for those that are wishing to come in for a quick driver interview. I'll just get that sorted, and if you would like to talk to Corey Yacht.
Sure, please. Hi, Corey. Welcome to the Apex Racing TV comms booth tonight. Of course, congratulations on your race results tonight. You came in second, and that was also a result of numerous battles with drivers like Mike Burdett as well as Matt Morris towards the end of the race. So, would you please tell us more about the race from a perspective?
Yeah, it was a pretty surprising start, starting from 4th place. Anthony setting a blistering time at the end there, and into qualifying. And then the start was Matt got a good jump into turn 1, nearly lost 2 places at the first corner, and then Mike had a bit of a mistake going into the stadium section, so I decided to do a little bit of a risky move. Got 3rd place, and then Anthony and Bo both went up the road. Anthony got disqualified, so then I decided to try and gap Morris, and I spun it 2 laps before pit. So, but I did get Matt back from a little mistake he did when I was trying to do an over/under move into the corner before the back straight. But it was nearly got disqualified at the end there, so it was a pretty interesting race.
Absolutely. I think I'm sure you're not the only driver who nearly got disqualified, because I think most of us, or rather most of the drivers tonight, they may have hit the upper limits of the incident cap tonight, and also unfortunate for Anthony Winkleman and a couple of other drivers, not Matt Morris, but a couple of other drivers who have unfortunately lost due to, or rather disqualified due to incident limits. So can I hand you over to Scott, please?
Yeah, well done, Corey, on finishing in, was it 2nd place tonight. Unfortunately, I got the timing out, but running the where you were sitting 3rd at the time. So yeah, good podium position for you. Looks as though that you've had a strong start to the season. What are your thoughts heading into the next round, which is Circuit Spa-Francorchamps?
Oh, it's going to be a very interesting race, that one, it being at night. So, especially last week with him to the Porsche was sort of a middle ground sort of car. So, it's yeah, I think honestly Spa will be a very interesting race next week. So.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we let you go, Corey, is there anyone that you would like to thank before we let you go?
The guys at TBR, they do a pretty good job at the paint schemes and that. Pixel Dust as well. Thank them for the paints, and also Craig's setup shop for the beautiful sets that he makes.
No worries, Corey. Well, thanks very much for coming in for the interview, and we wish you all the best for next week at Spa.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
As I try to find the mouse, that was Corey Yacht, driver for Team Bushmeat Racing, and congratulations to him for finishing on the podium. We have Bo Albert, race winner. We're just about to drag him up as we drag him in mid-conversation. Congratulations, Bo, on taking the win here for round number 1 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Championship. What were your thoughts heading into this race, given that I see that you signed up for a new team as well? What was your expectations heading into this race? We got you, Bo?
Bo, hello? I think he might have to be setting up his input device.
That could be quite possible. But we got you there, Bo?
Yep, sorry, I had it muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, congratulations on the win, Bo. For round number 1 of this Versus Asia GT Championship here at COTA. What were your thoughts heading into this race? As I see that signed up for Altus Esports, a new team. What were your thoughts heading into the race, but also what were your expectations with the team?
It was a little bit of an unknown for me, to be completely honest. I don't race the GTEs too much, so I've decided to jump into this series just to learn the cars, learn how they race and whatnot. And Altus Esports, brand new team, only just announced today, gave me an absolutely fantastic car. So it was on rails, really easy to drive. As for expectations, I was just looking for a top 5, so to get on pole and win the race is fantastic, but as you guys saw, it wasn't as easy as that with that fantastic first half hour with Anthony.
Yeah, talk us through that the first half hour, because it looked as though that you were chopping and changing. Most of the overtakes were happening into 11 and 12, but yeah, just talk us through that, because it looked as though that it was fairly close throughout, but was it sort of a track that you had to be give a bit of have a bit of give and take, knowing that it was an hour-long race?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it was a bit of, when do you attack? When do you, just give up the fight and let him go through? Because of course, it wasn't so much the track that was challenging; it was the incident counts. We know how brutal COTA can be with incidents, and we had to just be very careful of when we fought, because obviously we're risking, making contact, getting a 4x, or even forcing each other off the road and getting a 1x. So that was probably the main deciding factor of when we're pushing, when we're defending and whatnot. But in the end, it was very, very hard to defend because, of course, that massive straight heading into the hard braking zone, it's so easy to get a run, so easy to change positions constantly. So that was a lot of fun. But in the end, unfortunately, Anthony, I think, got himself disqualified. So that sort of ruined that battle, and I would have loved to have seen how that went to the finish. But overall, massively fun fight, and a huge shout out to Anthony, a very nice guy, awesome clean racer. And hopefully next round we can get a few less incidents and have a nice fight to the flag.
Talking off next week, it might be a bit of a track where it's the same here with Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps at night. What are your thoughts heading into next week for that track?
It's going to be a little bit challenging for me because, of course, I love flashing my headlights. It's probably my favourite pastime on iRacing. So in the night time, I'm not going to be able to see for half the track because I'll be flashing, so I'll be off for half the laps. That might be a bit of a challenge. But nah, Spa's not a track I tend to run too well at. So I'm expecting a much harder race. So I'll have to work a lot harder next week in practice just to make sure I am at the pointy end. Awesome track, though. Lots of overtaking opportunities, like you said. Nighttime is going to add up another challenge, and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to see how the field spreads out there.
Yeah, just before we let you go, Bo, is there anyone that you would like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank the guys at Altus Esports, brand new team. So if you don't mind me giving them a plug, check them out on Facebook. Brand new team only announced today. And also a shout out to our sponsor at Motum Simulations. And of course, you guys at Apex Racing TV for a fantastic broadcast.
Cheers, Bo. We wish you all the best. Next round at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Are you competing in the VRS GTE Series later tonight, or are you out for that one?
Unfortunately not. A few complications with my teammate, sadly, but hopefully we can be in the World Championship for round 6.
Not a problem then. Well, we wish you all the best, Bo, for next round, and we'll catch you next week.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
So, Wei Han, I think that this will conclude our coverage of round number 1 of the Sim Versus Asia GT Series. What are your expectations heading into Spa next week?
Well, next week heading to Spa, night, 60 minutes. I have a bad feeling that it may be a bit of a repeat of today, in the sense that incident limits may become a bit of an issue as with this week and perhaps as with Spa, because it's not exactly a wide track. There are areas here and there that it will be quite easy for drivers to go off track. As Bo mentioned just now, it's going to be another challenge.
Yeah, we're certainly looking forward to that. Next week, the race will start at 12 GMT or 8 PM Australian Western Standard Time, or I think it's 8 or 9 PM Singaporean time.
10 p.m. Sorry, yeah, 8 p.m. Singapore, Australia West. So we do share the same time zone, and it's also 10 p.m. for you guys at the Australian Eastern Sydney and Melbourne. So yeah, looking forward.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, we hope to be back next week for round number 2 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Championship. Just before we go, if you like what you saw on today's broadcast, please hit that subscribe button and give us a like, and please let us know what you thought of the broadcast. And my name is Scott Newton, and alongside me was Wei Han. And yeah, this will conclude round number 1 of the Sim Racers Asia GTE Championship here at Circuit of the Americas, and we'll see you next time.